Hey there. Mm. Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. I hope you brought your coffee. This is going to take a little while. We're going to show you how to do a 1 minute wood knob. And I'm talking about making a nice looking wood knob in less than a minute. Actually, I'm going to show you two separate examples of that. But the reason this is even possible is because of a new piece of hardware that I just discovered. It's been out there, and nobody I know of has ever talked about this, but it actually is a great little piece of hardware for doing wood knobs and putting wood threads in things. I'm really excited about it since I found it. I'm going to show you what I've learned, a couple of the knobs that I've made with it, some of the tricks that I've learned from it so that you might be able to use, so to get you up and running with this little fella quicker than it did for me. So this is the little guy here. And what's really unique is that it's just a threaded insert, but it's 5/16 of an inch tall. It's 5/16 inch outside diameter, and it's got little knurls on each end of it. If you can see that, you can see that it's got those knurls on there. Anyway, so it's got the two knurl areas. What this is for is you're supposed to take it and slip it onto a piece of rod, and then you heat it up with a torch somewhat, and then you take your piece of plastic, pre-drill hole to the right size, and you can take this and shove this right down in there while it's hot, and it'll melt its way into place. And when you have it set, then you unscrew the bolt from it and you put an insert. This is a plastic insert. This is an insert to put into little plastic pieces. So for you 3D printer fellas out there, fans, George, these things would be very handy for you to have in your work, in your shop, for when you're doing plastic stuff and being able to actually turn it into something that you have threads in it. So these, maybe you guys already know about this. Maybe nobody told me. That's all. But I've never seen these before. I really like them. And there's no reason why you can't use them in wood. I've decided. I've been playing with it. So let me show you some of the things that I've learned about it. First off, installing it. I tried different size holes and everything. I have found the 5/16 hole where this just slides into it just perfectly the right size. Like right here. I just drill the hole out to that size. Now, if the piece is bigger, this is pretty small. And if I'm going to do it in here, if I have this undersized hole and I'm going to have to hammer this in, there's a good chance I'm going to split this thing out and it's never going to work as a result. So because of that, you're better off just drilling a 5/16 hole when it's something small. If you're doing it into something big, like this, a regular block of wood, which I did here, this one, you could make it a 64th of an inch less and then pound it in with a hammer this way, tap it in with the glue on there, and you'll get an even tighter fit. I don't know why you would need to, though. I don't think that you ever really have to hammer this insert, even though I know it's designed supposedly that way. But the epoxies today, sorry about that. But the epoxies today, what they have, will hold this thing in place because of the knurl on it. It really gives you a good grip between the knurl and this recessed area in the center that gives you those uneven surfaces that the epoxy will fill very nicely and stick to the wood. So this thing will lock in pretty good with a good epoxy. Even CA glue will hold this thing, I think, plenty strong. That's all I've been using for everything I've done up to now, is I've used the CA glue rather than two-part epoxies. But I've made several different examples here that I'm going to go over with you, and I want to show you some of the things that you can do with these that you might not think of until you play with them for a while, like I have. So I'm going to give you a leg up on learning all that stuff here if you want to stick around. A little bit of rambling involved. You're just going to have to live with that. So, first trick I want to teach you is, if you're going to put these in, whether you're going to tap them in with a hammer or just slide them in when you epoxy them, before you do anything, take your bolt that you're using and spray this with WD-40 or smear some axle grease on there or something. so that when you take your threaded rod and screw it on there and screw it till the top is flush with the end of the bolt, that's how you want to have it when you get ready to install it. That way the glue can't get in around those threads and stick to it. And if any of that adhesive gets in there, it can be a mess, especially with a brass fitting. So the safest thing is just use something liquid so that the epoxy will never stick to it. You'll be fine. So now that you've done that, and what I did here to make I made two of knobs that I'm going to show you how you can do those in under a minute. But one of those two is this little fella right here. It's just a 3/4 inch piece of dowel is all it is. And I made a jig so I can do a dead center drilling hole on this 5/16. And I made this so that now I could take and I could put epoxy on that, drop this down in there, and shove this down in place. And when I get it set right where I want it, and it looks like it's pretty straight, then I let it set up. And then when I take this back off, I have a nice little wood knob ready to go. Now this one I drilled the hole deeper than this. The thread rod will go up about a little over 3/4 of an inch, maybe a full inch, something like that. So when this goes in and threads, rather than having the hole come at the top, I just made it a dead hole. Warning, new tip, if you put this in this way and you make a dead hole like that, and you screw this rod all the way in and it hits that top of that, and you keep going, it's going to push that insert right out real easy. So do not let this go up in there. Now, talking about pulling it out, the insert, you want to keep one thing in mind. When I put this in here and I drop this down, what I want is to make this thing so that it is exactly flush, like it is here. Make it exactly flush with your flat surface or standing just a hair proud. That way, all your pressure is going to be based on that piece. Now, since playing with all this stuff, I have learned, let me show you real quick. Where's that? Here's that block. This is one that I made into two different, first ones I made. And I drilled a hole, a 3/4 inch hole, shallow, right there. And then I drilled a 5/16 hole to put the insert in. I took the insert and I epoxied it in place. Well, CA glue. In here. And then I have two choices. I could take and put a 1/4 inch washer into that relief area and epoxy that in. And if I do that, and then I take and I shape it, I went from this to this. So there's my washer epoxied in place, nice and flat. The washer is making contact so that all the pressure is against the insert, not against any of the wood. So all that adhesive is not going to break free if you try to over tighten it. If you try to over tighten this, it's more likely to strip out probably than even break free of the wood itself, because there's no pulling on that. There's only pressure going this way as you're tightening. So very critical. Make sure that think about what is touching here so that insert, because of the type of insert it is, it's pressed in place and locked in, it can pull out easier than those other types can. So you want to make sure that you don't give it a chance to get that kind of pressure to be able to break that loose and be able to pull it out. So always make sure you're just slightly proud with your knobs if you're going to use something like this type of insert in your knobs. But there's nothing wrong with that knob except how long it took me to make it. These are very adorable knobs because the other, before, instead of the washer, you could also put, here it is, piece of dowel in that same 3/4 inch hole, would glue it in place, and now I have one of these. Now, you do have to drill that out again. I'll show you, if you want, I'll show you how to do that here in a moment. But from this piece of block, in that little shallow hole, I made this using the washer And I made this one using the dowel. So you can see how quick and easy you can make lots of different knobs very quickly and easy using the insert to make them. Now, the real trick is that if you want to make a knob using pre-made material, you can actually make these knobs pretty darn quick. If I take and just cut a couple of pieces of dowel, whatever length I want them to be, they can be shorties like this, or I could grab something even longer and drill a hole in the end and use that. And then I have a nice big one that I can really get some grip on, or go somewhere in between. I could drill a hole through this way so that I could take some 1/4-inch rod and glue that in there, and then I got a little T-handle on there to give me leverage. Or I could flatten it to give me some thumb grip. So there's lots of ways to make it better instantly if you want to do that. But as it stands, this actually is a good functional working knob. So, but I did learn a couple other things about these inserts that I hadn't thought about, in conjunction especially with the washer. I figured out that if you take that washer, take this insert and set it in the center of a 1/4-inch washer, that's a 5/16 hole. That is kind of sitting in there. But right now it's kind of cocked. But if I take my hammer and hold that washer down and tap that till it's flat, you end up with this, where that thing pressed itself right into that hole and it's snugly held in place. Then you can take this, oops, here, and if your center hole is drilled center, I can put a little epoxy, throw that on there, and now I have a real quick, strong wood knob using the washer, using the brass knob, and some epoxy, and I turned a piece of dowel into an instant knob. Quick and easy. And other than the only trick to this is you got to hit that center hole so that when you use that 3/4-inch washer in place, it's going to be flush all the way around. You hit that off center, and then you just starts to, things don't look right at all, but it works. I did this one I did with my jig I made. I'm going to show you that jig, but it'll be at the end. So that means you're going to have to stick around. But this one I drilled all the way through, but it's off center. So if I put it on here, it's kind of K-wampus. And this would not make a good looking knob, but it would still be functional. But drilling that to the center is the trick. Drilling out the holes is always the tricky part. And if you think ahead of time, there's lots of ways you can get around that particular difficult part of the task, because everything else is easy. I don't have to shape that dowel. I can just make it any length I want. Maybe add one cross dowel in it to give me a T-handle. Who knows? Maybe glue something on the other end so I have a T-handle. So there's lots of things you can do with it. It's a good basic structure, but also you can take other things. Check this out. This is a pre-made craft ball. This one in particular is a 1 1/4 inch, and it's flat on the bottom and already has the hole pre-drilled for me. How nice. Now I can just take and oversize that hole and follow as a guide hole to get a nice straight hole without any problem right in the center. This is easy peasy to make into a knob. In fact, that's exactly what I did. It's flat. I put that insert into there, and then I came back, and then on 4 different points, I just did a flat spot. That is so that now when I put this on and I want to tighten it down, I have some way to be able to grip it and really tighten it down. Quick, easy. This is my other 1-minute knob. Since it's already pre-drilled, I can set this into my bench dog hole, take my drill it down to a predetermined mount, glue a insert into place in there, and I'm done. A minute. So this you can turn something like this into a knob in just 1 minute. Same thing here. Now this one was a little different. It didn't have the hole in the center when I got these, so I had to find that center hole, punch it, and drill it. So it's a little bit more work, but it worked. You can do it. A lot of these come pre-drilled, so that you don't have to worry about that centering hole. That's when you can make these things very fast. That's what I like about these. I also have, oh, here it is. This is a 2-inch ball. Same thing. This one is pretty beefy. And if I did this one over, I would probably do this using this trick and having that recessed in there too. Or not. So that this would be on there. And I probably would make something more like this than this next time. I made this early on, but this is made straight from a ball. I did drill it all the way through so that this thing can go down as far as you want. And just like this one, they all work very nicely without any problem. As long as you got it in there straight and you're at a 5/16 hole, the 1/4-inch bolt will go all the way through there and touch nothing but the brass threads as it threads on and off, so that it should thread on and off like it's supposed to, metal on metal. So, taking predetermined shapes and turning them into knobs is actually very cool. And I just showed you 2 examples here of making wood knobs that you can use around the shop. But I made a list. I was out on Amazon, and I recommend you go through that list and just there are links to different types of wood objects on Amazon that I thought I could probably make a nice looking knob out of that with nothing more than using the insert trick into it. I found some little knobs that are used for pulls on fan cords. Those things actually, they're really very small. But you can actually use these type of inserts into something that small. That's what I love about this. Check this out. This is a 3/4-inch ball. I flattened the bottom. I drilled it out. Now this one I did on a drill press because this, you got to hit everything just right. But guess what? I now had this sweet looking little wood knob or wood nut, whatever you want to call it. Instead of this ugly looking hex head nut on there, how about putting things like this on there? I could even take and just drill it all the way through so that you could go all the way down. I could flatten 2 sides so that you could put a wrench on it. You could do all sorts of things with it. But trying to put any of those other inserts that I've always shown you up to now into something this small, it ain't going to happen. There is no way I could get that into here and not split the heck out of that. It would never go. Sooner or later, this would just split because it's too small. I could do this in here, but actually, this actually works pretty good too. So, I like this setup. I like these little guys because they really are great for making really small objects into wood knobs, which, you know, I hadn't even thought about before, how to make something a nice small knob or very thin. This is only 5/16, so I could take 5/16-inch material and make a very short but long wing nut, so that I could use this as a wing nut. Make all sorts of little small wing nuts with this. So the sky's the limit. This really opens up to make you go even smaller at making wood knobs and wood things with threads in them. I love this little guy. So anyway, I'm ranting and raving. I wanted to show you that. I had to show you about this. So there is one more thing I want to show you. Now that I've shown you how to take this, set it up, drill it 5/16, put your insert in there, and it's a ball. It's a knob. I don't think I need to do this one, but let me show you this one. To make this into a knob, like I did here, well, it has the hole. I did a dead hole in this one, but to make this, I pre-made a jig. And all the jig is just a beefy piece of wood. This is just 2 pieces of OSB. I drilled a 3/4-inch hole part way in, and then on that center of that hole, I finished drilling it straight through with a 5/16 hole. So now I have a 5/16 hole guide into a piece of dowel, just like that. And I just take my drill bit and my drill. Oops, it's in the drill. And now I have to drill this out. Now this one, I set it the depth so that when I drill through, it doesn't come out the other end for this size dowel, which is how I made this one. So when I put this one in here, like so, then when I put the bit in there, it goes all the way in, all the way to the bottom, to where that bottomed out. And I made sure that I kept the tape away from there, because that is the point where it'll start coming out the top. So as long as I stay shallow with that, I knew I could drill this out. And that's how I drilled it. Just a simple little jig. I took my jig, put my piece in there. I set it right in front of me on the bench. And all I did was I just tightened down 2 clamps. And just like that, now I can take my bit. This is kind of important. Take your bit, drop it down in there, and make sure that you're true and straight in both directions. That you're straight up and down, like this, in the hole. And once you're set, I can then set that into the hole, lock this on there. Yes, something small fell. Now I can take this and find that set hole. I'm right dead center, and because I have a bubble gauge on mine drill I put on there, yes, I did a video on that. I know that everything is lined up perfectly. I can drill that hole freehand now, and when I get done, I end up with a perfect hole dead center on my dowel. And it's optional whether I want to drill all the way through or not, but this makes it real easy. If you have a drill press, you can use this same type of setup and do it on the drill press. It'd be easier, but then make this block bigger so you can clamp it to your table when you get it locked in place. Then you can just set your piece in, drill your hole, take it out, put the next one in, drill your hole. So on the drill press, you could use something very similar. Use the same thing, just bigger so you can clamp it down. And you can drill a bunch of these and nothing flat once you start drilling them. So just make sure they go into the hole nice and straight, and that they're straight in both directions, here and here. And as long as it's 90 degrees on your, when you put it in, if it tap it to the bottom, you should be nice and flat, and it should be straight so that you can drill a hole straight through. It's pretty easy on the drill press, but you can, as you see, you can drill these out here with a simple little jig also. Thinking outside the box, that's what it takes. Anyway, I think that's everything I kind of wanted to show you. But once you've got this jig, you can make these things in under a minute. And then epoxy your piece in here, and you're good to go. So, knobs are quick and easy. I really like this new insert. If everybody out there already seen these, let me know. I was curious about who already knew about these, because I've never seen them before. I'm imagine if anybody knew about these, it'd be you guys with the 3D printers. Probably know about these, but the really astounding is because of the size. They're so small that you can really do some pretty small. Where did it go? Oh, you can do some pretty small knobs with these things. So I really like them. Anyway, tell me what you think. I hope you learned something from this. This is really pretty cool about use these. So if you don't have these in stock, you want to get them. Now, I am going to leave in the description a couple of things. I'm going to leave a link to where I get these. A link to where I get a couple of the other things that we talked about, these craft balls. I found a selection of 300 balls where it'll cost you less than 15 cents a piece. That means you can make all these knobs we're talking about here. With those, they're about 32 cents a piece. But with the craft ball underneath a quarter, you're talking about less than 50 cents per knob to make any kind of knob you want. So, but check out my list. And what in particular you want to do is check out the list that I have for the Amazon, I'm not sure what kind of list I'll call it, the shopping list. And what it is I'm going to show you a list of different wood objects out there that you can buy off of eBay. Learning what you learned here today and thinking about this, putting it into in some of those, and all of a sudden you'll see those as a knob instead of as whatever they're supposed to be for. Just like I did with the little craft ball and turn this into a nice little wood knob. And some of them are very interesting. There's some finials in that list. There's at least one pull knob of a off of a chain, off of a chain for a fan, an overhead light, and the little wood pulls. There's one out there that really intrigues me that I think would be a very cool knob. So check them out, and again, it should help broaden your horizon when you see those. And just imagine putting how you would put an insert into each of those, and you'll understand exactly why I'm so excited about having these little fellas. So small sometimes is really great, but these things open up a whole new world that you could never do with these fellas or any of the others that you saw today or that you saw me use in the past. This thing really is going to be a very cool thing to have, and it's going to be very useful if you want to do smaller type of stuff. Now I'm rambling. I didn't want to do that too much. I do want to thank you for coming by. Your comments, your thoughts. Go look at that list and then give me your comments before and after you look at that list and tell me what you're thinking. I think you'll probably see exactly what I am about how to turn some simple objects into some really beautiful wood knobs for your jigs and your projects. So quick and easy. And if you need a knob real quick in 2 minutes, I can make your knob in less than 2 minutes at any given time in this shop if I want to. So it's a pretty handy thing to know. So I hope you learned something here. Get yours ordered before they run out. I'm already going to have to order more. I've used a lot of these up. But they are very interesting. Look at the list. Leave your comments before and after you look at that shopping list. See what you think. I think it'll really open up your mind to a lot of things that you hadn't thought about. So outside the box thinking can be fun. Leave your comments. If you learned something here, you like this video, hit that like button. It lets me know that I'm really doing something right. So, most importantly, please come back again because I'm nowhere near done. And don't forget to bring your coffee because sometimes these things take a while. We'll see you guys again soon. Bye.